Hi guys, my name is Rumbi Kamwaza and I'm the founder of SD Events London. We are based in Richmond and we have been planning weddings and events for about 4 years, and I thought it would be a really great opportunity for me to kind of help you guys understand the planning process. And if you are planning on doing this wedding by yourself, there are some key things that you do 100% need to remember and focus on. So the first thing I want to say to you is congratulations on your engagement. The first thing I want to ask you guys is, how much are you willing to spend on your actual wedding? And I don't mean like you're going to pay with a credit card, or you're going to ask family and friends, or aunties and uncles are going to say to you, okay, we are going to help pay for X, Y, and Z. I'm genuinely talking about how much you are willing to spend on your wedding, as this again is only for one day. The rest of it is entirely about the marriage and the union between you and your husband, or couples, or husband and husband, wife and wife. A little interesting fact for you guys: the average wedding from last year now costs about £17,000, and this is according to Bridebook from their February report in 2019. Obviously, prices, depending on the wedding amount, your number of guests, location, venue, it can vary. But that's just something I want you guys to remember when you are planning your wedding. Weddings should not be costly. So the first thing I would recommend would be for you guys to really think about your budget. What are you willing to spend? Do you want a really nice venue? Do you want entertainment? So when I meet my couples for the first time, I always ask them, what's important to the both of you? Do you want your wedding to have the best DJ? Do you want all your guests to feel like they're at a party or a festival? Do you want great entertainment? Do you want like dancers? Do you want great food? Are you foodies? Like, do you want a 3-course meal? Do you want a 2-course meal? Do you want a buffet? Do you want a sit down? Do you want table sharing? Do you want family style? These all come to play when you are thinking about your budget. And when it comes to budget planning, the best thing to do is to always start off with a figure that you and your partner are both willing to spend on your wedding. Being realistic when doing your budget management is so important. Like, I mean, think about how much money you actually have in your savings account, how much money you have in your bank, and think, okay, if we want to have 100 people at our wedding, it's going to cost us £20,000, just say. And that's including your dress, your food, your drinks, your transportation, your accommodation, your entertainment, your vendors, your everything. £20,000 is a lot. Keeping track of your budget is so important. Knowing your figures and knowing how much you're spending. Another great tip that I like to give my clients is, if you are going to have a budget, always save at least a minimum of 10% of that budget. So that could be, say you've got £20,000 as your provisional budget, £2,000 of that would be your contingency plan. So that would be for any unexpected costs. So you are now sitting down with your finances and you're saying, okay, I'm planning my wedding. What are the 5 or 6 very important things to us? We want a nice venue, 1. Number 2 would be our decor. It has to be really good. Number 3 would be our food and drinks. You can't have a wedding without food and drinks, can you now? And number 4 would be attire. So what are we going to wear? What's the groom going to wear? Are we going to have flower girls? Are we paying for some of the attire for the bridesmaids, or the page boys and the page girls, and all of that? Number 5 would be transport, accommodation, and number 6, the most expensive, but if you are cost savvy and you know people, or you use a wedding planner, they can help you, guide you, get discounts, would be your vendor supply list. So that would be your photographer, your DJ, your videographer. Budget is numbers, knowing your numbers, knowing how many guests you're going to invite, how many people you're going to have for your evening reception. Do they require transportation? How are you getting them from place to place? And you know, there's just so many things that you can talk about with your budget. Having a style of wedding is also very important at the very beginning stages of wedding planning. So if you and your partner are you're into the glitz and the glam. So glitz and glam would be like sequins, would be gold, would be very lovely, lavish kind of colours at your wedding. Then that's glitz and glam would be the category you would kind of go for. If you wanted a rustic barn, greenery, outdoors, then you would look for venues and vendors who kind of embody that kind of feel for your wedding. So that's another thing when you're thinking really and truly about the style of your wedding, how that also correlates with your budget. Because if you were to go for a barn wedding, they are beautiful, but they do cost money. They are not as cheap as people think. They think that a wedding in a hotel is more expensive. They're both the same, because most barns, again, we will touch on this in the venue video, but I'm just giving you an example now, is most barns do not have like cooking facilities, so you would have to think about your catering and your costs and all that. So again, that plays into your budget. So knowing really and truly the style of your wedding. Are you also going to have a civil ceremony? Are you having a church wedding? There's so many things just add up into the budget management of actually planning a wedding, and you'll be surprised that it's always the littlest things that actually cost you at the end. So that's why I always like to advise people, always have a contingency plan, because contingency plans are there to basically rescue you and save you from situations where you've now booked a venue and you're reading through the contract maybe 2 weeks before, and you see in the small print that it says there will be a minimum bar charge of £500. However, you didn't notice that when you were booking the venue. So it's small things like that where, okay, phew, I've got that £2,000. So if my guests do not spend that £500, I have got that money and I can pay that fee. So there's always small little things, small little road bumps within the wedding planning process that you need to be aware of when you are planning your wedding. Most important when you are planning a wedding, do not cut corners, do not ask favors from aunties and uncles who will in the last minute let you down. Always either know who you're dealing with, trust, go through a word of mouth, just know. But at the end of the day, the budget is so important. You need to feel comfortable on your wedding day, knowing that you're going to go off on your honeymoon and there's not going to be any stress or any financial burden that's going to now enter your marriage, because at the end of the day, you are married. It's now a union. It's now between you and your partner. You're going to be one. You have to now carry this burden. So always make sure that when you are planning a wedding, you stay within that budget that you have worked, because there's no reason for you to be spending £50,000 on a wedding. If you can afford it, that's fantastic. If you can't, then you can't. It's just be realistic. Be as realistic as possible. The day should be planned to a point where you've planned for every little hiccup that you could possibly think of, and you just turn up on the day and it's fantastic. Budget management, it's all about your values. What are your core values as a couple? What is it that as a couple you feel that you want your guests to experience in your love story? Don't forget, this wedding day is about the union of two people coming together, telling their love story through the eyes of their guests. So your guests will basically see you know, you on the day with your wife or your husband. Your love is now on display for people to see. So don't go breaking the bank on a wedding day. It's not that deep. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I want you to like, share, subscribe. If you've got any questions in terms of budget management, please let me know. Drop me an email on info@steventlondon.co.uk. If you have any comments on the video, please share. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.